today I'm going to run you through just a few tweaks and advanced settings regarding the ORX. So join me in the XP Skill School. One top tip, especially if you're searching through stubble, is use the arm strap. Just make sure your arm can go in and out really easily. It doesn't have to be tight, and this just stops the inertia when swinging through stubble. It really does help. Give it a try. So as I said in the previous video, on this particular field, coin deep isn't very settled. It's a little bit spitty and chatty, so we've opted to go for coin fast. So how do I get coin fast to be a little bit more spicy? How can I run the machine a little bit more edgy? The first thing I do, now these are only my personal preferences here, I'd go into the menu, into disc, and I'd drop it down from the factory preset 7 to 5.5. And this is making the machine a little bit more edgy. You know those 50-50 targets, it kind of cleans them up, but listen out for that iron buzz. Now secondly, I drop it down to sensitivity, factory preset 90, I'd bump it up a little bit, 95, and just see how the machine feels. It's still settled, so I know I can go a little bit more. 98, I'm getting a little bit of EMI coming in here, but don't worry about that too much because the EMI tends to come in when you've stopped swinging, but when you start swinging again, it goes. So 98, 99 maximum, I'd say this machine was very, very usable at these settings. Let's drop onto a subject that confuses a lot of people. There's been a lot of talk about it, but we still get asked the same questions, and that subject is ground balance. Now on the ORX, there's two ways of ground balancing. There's pumping using fast grab, and there's manual adjustment using the plus and minus buttons. Well, that's all fair and well, but if you ground balance when you don't need to, you're kind of wasting your time. You're confusing things when they don't need confusing. Now along the top there, you've got a mineralisation bar. In the UK, you see perhaps 2-3 bars, which is indicating there's not a great deal of mineralisation. There's not a sufficient enough ground echo to warrant the bars going any higher. And this is telling you, don't bother about ground balancing because the factory default on this machine is 88, and it's perfect for most of your inland searching. So what happens if your bars go right to the top, which indicates you've got highly mineralised ground? Well, then you can ground balance to get a little bit more extra performance out of your machine. The numbers correlate to the mineralisation bar. High bar, trust the numbers. Low bar, don't trust the numbers. It's as simple as that. So let's run through the ground balance setup and show you the pitfalls if you get it wrong. Here we go. We're swinging the machine, and you can see we've got 3 bars up there on the mineralisation bar. The ground's not very mineralised at all. You can see there, that's my adjusted number, 87, and that's my actual ground reading. Now if you see dash dash appearing, it means your machine is defaulting to the default number, which is 87, 88. Now how do we get a ground balance? Well, the easiest way is to pump the coil, and as it reaches the ground, hit the pinpoint button like this. So we're going up and down, we should generate a number, there we go. Hit it once, and you'll see the 2 numbers are now corresponding. You may think that's all well and good, but because this is ground balanced at 77, it means that we've gone below the shake value, which is, you've made the coil very hot. Can you see? Can you hear it? So if you're ground balancing on stubble, you're going to get false signals every time the coil hits the stubble. So if you're ground balancing, try and make sure your terrain has not got a load of rocks, obstacles, things like that, because if you're below that shake value, you're going to get a load of false signals. So how do I get that to factory default? Well, that's easy. I use the plus and minus buttons. So if I go up a little bit now, and you'll see that's gone to dash dash. Well, that happens if the coil stops motion. If you start motion again, your numbers will be generated. There they are. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. Right, let's go up to a higher ground balance. Can you hear the shake value's almost gone now? Almost gone. Completely gone at 88. No meter reading at all. It's worth a go, definitely. Quite a deep one. As usual, let's go in with a probe and see what we got. Nothing. Let's have some more out and have another go. Yay, there it is. Can you see it? Just there, look. Oh, it's a button again. I thought it was a coin. You wouldn't believe it, the last hole I dug, I left a pinpoint probe over there. So we get that in a minute. Let's sort this target out, then we get the pinpoint probe. I think that's some kind of little minim or something like that. Don't know. Let's look after that one. Right, back to the problem in hand. We've lost the pinpoint probe. It's over on the last hole we dug. So with the ORX, because I've got it paired, let me put that little coin thing away. Because I've got it paired, I can use the research mode, and this is really simple. Let me show you how it's done. First of all, I go into pinpointer, press select, press research, press select. Can you hear that? It's over there. How cool is that? And that's the last hole we dug there, look. Job done. How would we describe this signal? It's kind of forced, isn't it? It's kind of an aggressive signal. Still got to be worth a dig. It was on the spade, look. Come on, be something good. Well, you're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. Now, listen, that's only a button. Or some sort of fastener, perhaps. No, I'm wrong on both counts. It's a brooch. I can see the little catch plate there. So it's a brooch. How cool is that? Could even be Roman, Saxon, could be anything. We've heard on a few of these signals, it's got the iron buzz with it. If you didn't want to hear the iron tone, it's really easy to switch off. All you go is into menu, iron volume, and just turn it off. And now you won't hear any iron low tone with your signal. Personally, I like to keep it on because I like that extra bit of information, and I find it helps when identifying some difficult iron. If your ORX comes with an HF coil and you've just unboxed it, you're going to have to build this coil up, and that involves putting it on the lower stem, threading the wire through and connecting the battery. Now there's a video showing the exact procedure, because you can get this wrong, especially with these top hat connectors. And if you're not 100% sure on how to connect this all together, just pop over to the XP YouTube channel where we've got a video showing the exact procedure step by step. Frequencies. What frequency do you use? Typically the higher frequencies are better for the smaller targets and the lower frequency the bigger targets, but this isn't always the case. I mean, with this HF coil, your low frequency is 14 kilohertz, and that's more than capable of finding the tiniest targets. I would say the higher frequency is more of a specialist frequency, so use that one with caution, because you may be pestered with tiny little microscopic fragments. Okay, they could be cut quarters or fine jewellery, you never know. So this is why I don't go into frequencies in such a big way. It's down to the user. By all means, have a little experiment, see what you're comfortable with. And also, some frequencies are better behaved on certain fields. So quite often your field will dictate what frequency to use. And let's not forget EMI. EMI is a massive problem when it comes to different frequencies. Always choose a clean frequency depending on the EMI. For example, you may have a pinpointer what interferes with your machine every time you turn it on. We're not all lucky enough to have MI6s paired to the ORX. So if your pinpointer makes a load of noise every time you turn it on, it's going to drive you mad. So just find a sub-frequency by making fine adjustments with your pinpointer switched on. Once you've found a clean channel, just save that program under user 5 or user 6, so the next time you turn on your ORX with your pinpointer, you won't experience EMI problems from it. Another thing people ask a lot is, how do they remove the RC from the stem? Some people pull it back, pull it forward, but there's a right and a wrong way how to do this. All you have to do is push up with a thumb movement, so the RC is coming off this way. So just simply push up with your thumb and it's out. Well, that's it for my video. Thanks for watching, if indeed you still are, and I'll see you on the next Skill School video.